The music from the ballroom faded into a distant murmur as Min-jae pushed open the narrow side door and stepped into the courtyard. The air was cool. The night sky spread wide above him like a quiet promise. Lanterns flickered along the stone walls, and for a moment the world felt paused, as if it knew this night was fragile. He didn't have to wait long. Amara Johnson slipped through the door behind him, her heels soft against the cobblestones. The laughter and chatter from inside disappeared as the door closed, sealing them into their own secret world. "Everyone's looking for you," she said, her voice light but her eyes heavy with something unspoken. "Let them," Min-jae replied. "I needed you." She smiled faintly and walked closer until their hands met naturally, like they always did. The warmth of her fingers wrapped around his felt like coming home after a lifetime away. Out there, in the courtyard, hidden from the noise of the crowd, nothing else existed. Not the expectations waiting for them tomorrow, not the miles that would soon divide them. Only this moment, fragile, fleeting, perfect. They had grown up together in the same small seaside town where dreams felt too big for narrow streets. They were inseparable as children, reckless teenagers chasing sunsets, and eventually something deeper, a love that didn't need grand confessions to exist. But life had a way of asking difficult questions. Min-jae had been accepted into an international architecture program in Italy, his lifelong dream. Amara Johnson had earned a scholarship to a prestigious conservatory in New York, where her voice would finally be heard beyond their little town. Both opportunities were once in a lifetime, and both pulled them in opposite directions. They never asked each other to stay. Love had always been freedom between them, never chains. Still, tonight was their last night before everything changed. "You look nervous," Amara teased softly. "I am," Min-jae admitted. "Not about leaving, about saying goodbye." Her eyes glistened under the lantern light. "Maybe it's not goodbye," she said. "Maybe it's just a long pause." He nodded, though the thought did little to ease the ache growing in his chest. Inside, the band began to play a slow song. The melody drifted into the courtyard like a memory waiting to happen. "Dance with me," Min-jae said. "There's no music out here," she laughed. "There is," he replied, touching his chest. "Right here." She hesitated for only a moment before stepping closer. He wrapped an arm around her waist, and they began to sway gently beneath the stars. Their movements were quiet, almost reverent, like they were trying to memorize each breath, each heartbeat, each tiny detail of the other. Amara Johnson rested her head against his shoulder. "Do you think we're making a mistake?" she whispered. "No, I think we're choosing to become who we're meant to be. And maybe, someday, those people will find each other again." She closed her eyes, holding on to him tighter. Above them, the stars glittered like scattered diamonds. The world beyond their courtyard carried on, cars passing, waves crashing faintly against distant rocks, but for them, time slowed into something sacred. They talked about everything and nothing, about childhood memories, future dreams, ridiculous inside jokes that made them laugh until their sides hurt. Each word was an attempt to stretch the night longer, to delay the inevitable sunrise waiting just beyond the horizon. As midnight slipped into early morning, the reality of their departure pressed heavier between them. "How do you say goodbye to someone who feels like home?" Min-jae asked quietly. Amara's voice trembled. "You don't," she said. "You just carry them with you wherever you go." Tears slipped down her cheeks. He brushed them away gently, but his own vision blurred. "Promise me something," she said. "Anything. Don't let the lonely days convince you this wasn't real. Don't let distance erase what we have." "Never," he said. You're the queen of my heart, Amara. That doesn't change with miles or time." Her lips trembled into a small, broken smile. "And you'll always be my safe place." The sky began to pale with the first hint of dawn. The moment they had been avoiding finally arrived. At the train station, the air smelled of rain and metal. People rushed around them, unaware that two lives were quietly unraveling on the platform. They stood face to face, hands locked together, as if letting go might shatter them. "This is it," Min-jae said softly. "For now," she corrected. The announcement for her train echoed through the station. The sound sliced through his chest like a blade. They embraced tightly, memorizing the shape of each other. Tears soaked into coats and scarves, blending together until neither could tell whose pain was whose. "I'll find my way back to you someday," Min-jae whispered into her hair. "I'll be waiting," she replied. And then she stepped onto the train. He watched through the window as it pulled away, her silhouette growing smaller until it disappeared completely. The platform felt unbearably empty. The world seemed louder, colder, harsher without her beside him. Months turned into years. Min-jae walked ancient streets in Italy, designing buildings that carried pieces of her laughter in their curves. Amara Johnson sang on stages across the world, her voice carrying echoes of his steady heartbeat in every note. They spoke when they could, letters, late-night calls, messages sent across time zones. Sometimes weeks passed without contact, but the thread between them never snapped. Loneliness visited them both in quiet hotel rooms and crowded city streets. There were moments when doubt crept in, when distance felt like an ocean too wide to cross. But every time Min-jae looked at the night sky, he remembered dancing under the lanterns. Every time Amara Johnson heard applause thunder through a theater, she remembered his promise that she was never alone. Years later, on a rainy evening back in their hometown, Amara Johnson returned for a small concert by the sea. The stage lights blinded her at first, but as her eyes adjusted, she saw a familiar figure standing near the front row. Min-jae. Older, changed, but unmistakably him. The song faltered on her lips as tears filled her eyes. The crowd faded into silence as she stepped off the stage and walked towards him, heart pounding like a drum calling her home. They stopped inches apart, both unsure if the moment was real. "You found your way back," she whispered. "I told you I would," he said. They embraced, laughter and tears mixing together like rain washing away years of distance. The world around them dissolved again into nothing but two souls reunited. Later, as they walked along the shoreline where they had first fallen in love, the stars shone brighter than either remembered. "Was it worth it?" she asked softly. "Yes," he said, "because we became who we were meant to be, and somehow we still found each other." She rested her head against his shoulder, and for the first time in years, the ache of separation melted into peace. They didn't know what the future held. Life was still unpredictable, still filled with dreams that might pull them in different directions again. But that night, standing beneath a sky filled with diamond-like stars, they understood something profound. Love wasn't measured by the absence of distance or tears. It was measured by the courage to grow, the strength to let go, and the faith that true hearts would always find their home. And in his heart, no matter where life carried them, she would always remain the queen.